Hi, this is chapter two. So this is reading basics. So you should already have these skills at the college level. That's okay. That's what you're here for in this class, just in case you don't. But yeah, at the college level, you have to know how to read actively and read critically. For this chapter, I'm going to lecture a little bit um, on what the chapter says. Then you have two assignments for this specific chapter. Also, I have an extra handout for you, which I will explain. Okay. Okay, so this is all about how to understand what you read and reading actively. So first, I just want to talk about the typical techniques of reading actively, and then I want to introduce you to a thing called a tips chart, which will help you read actively and critically. Okay, so first, how do you read actively and critically? Basically, that means you're thinking about what you read. You're having like a conversation either with as you read or thinking while you read. You take annotations, which means you write down things that stand out for you, that seem important. But before you even read, let's talk about it. You preview it. You look at the title. You look at the words in bold. Here's some um, a list of what to do. Underline or highlight the main idea. Um, show I underline or highlight ideas that support the main idea, right? That's important. A check in the margin, which you think might be important, or circle or question mark, explanation point. So that's called annotating the text. Now that is difficult when you have a digital text, but what you can do is you can take notes on a piece of paper while you're reading, or you could even mark up the text um, if you really want to, because you can copy paste it, put it on a different document and circle it or print it out, etc. Okay, so that is called annotating the text. That's important. That helps. Now, we need to know about what the author's main point is because then we know what else we're looking for. If we know what the author is trying to argue, then we can understand what support he or she is using to make that point strong, convincing, informative, etc. Okay, so we do have um, an activity here. You do not need to turn this one in. I'm going to go over this with you. So this is practice one. It's finding the main point. We have a couple of with four different paragraphs to read and find the main point. So let's go ahead and I will demonstrate how to find the main point with these four examples. Okay, so it says underline the main point in the following paragraphs, then write the main point in your own words in the space provided. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the paragraph and then think about what the main point is. So a main point is just that, the central idea, the central message of what the author is conveying. Not the details, not the support, but the central general idea. Okay, so let's take a look. Number one, psychologists have for some time noted the difference in problem-solving styles of Americans and Chinese, and new research underscores that difference. Psychologists say that Americans are specific problem solvers, focusing on one problem at a time. In contrast, Chinese consider the broader context of a problem before acting. Researchers at the University of Michigan recently charted the eye movements of two groups of people when they were shown photographs. Americans focused on the foreground with only brief sweeps of the background. Chinese people focused on the background, many eye movements back and forth, and limited stops at a particular object. It appears that eye movements parallel problem-solving styles. Okay, so first, what do we know? We usually know that the main point is for a paragraph is the first sentence. We've learned in the past, you might have learned about topic sentences. It's typically in the topic sentence or the first sentence. So let's reread that. Psychologists have for some time noted the difference in problem-solving styles of Americans and Chinese, and new research underscores that difference. Okay. Ah, that's the main point. In my own words, I would write um, research and psychologists see a difference in problem-solving styles of Americans and Chinese. That's it. Okay. So for the next one, I'm not going to read the whole thing. What I'm going to do is skim and scan and try to find the main idea. Now, usually the main point is in the first sentence, but that's not always the case. But let's take a look. I might have to read a little bit more, actually, because it's not as succinct and clear as the first one, but let's take a look. So this is number 2. Many people look at me blankly when I say I'm a vegan. Vegan means no meat, no dairy. They think maybe it is religion or some unusual ethnic background. But a vegan is a normal person, a vegetarian who eats only plant products. Vegans do not eat meat. That means I do not eat, eat meat, including fowl, fish, eggs, or milk products. Fowl means birds, right? That means I do not eat cheese, yogurt, dairy, or ice cream, among other milk products. I do not eat anything that comes from a living creature. That does not make me weird or even a difficult dinner guest. I eat all kinds of vegetables, fruits, and beans. I am one of a growing number of people who believe it is healthier or humane to eat only plants. Because my diet does have restrictions, I've learned a lot about nutrition, and I eat no junk food. I am healthy and I am a vegan. This is more convoluted to find the main point. This person is more telling a story and some background, but I think if you really think about what the weird point is, the main point is it's kind of you have to summarize it from other things. Basically, it's the definition of what a vegan is and that it's normal. So the main point would be that vegans do not eat any animal products, and this is a growing and normal trend. And that's it. That's the main idea there. But it was harder because of the way this paragraph was structured to find that main idea. Okay, so this one is classroom is noisy with loud voices bouncing off the walls. No one pays attention to the teacher who moves around the room saying little. Students' desks are arranged in circles of 4. Many students are not in their seats. They strain over sheets of paper at the center of each cluster of desks. They point and gesture. They argue. No, that's not right. Listen to me, says one student as she leans toward another. Is this the stereotypical chaos of an unruly, unengaged urban high school? No, it is indeed an urban high school classroom, and it indeed seems chaotic. But this is Mr. Brown's algebra class. And Mr. Brown's students are working on solving a problem. An engaged classroom looks and sounds alive, like Mr. Brown's class. The classroom of success is active, not passive. So this is interesting too, because remember I already said typically the topic sentence should have the main idea, but it seems that in this case, um, the main idea came at the end. Basically, an active classroom is a successful classroom, is a learning classroom. It may be chaotic, but they're actually learning. So that's the main idea there. All right, the last one. The most destructive force in our social relations is aggression. In psychology, aggression has a more precise meaning than it does in everyday usage. The assertive, persistent salesperson is not aggressive, nor dentist who makes you wince in pain. Nor is the dentist who makes you wince in pain. The person who passes along a vicious rumor about you, the person who verbally assaults you, and the attacker who mugs you are aggressive. In psychology, aggression is any physical or verbal behavior intended to hurt or destroy. Murders and assaults that occur as hostile outbursts are aggression. So were the 110 million war-related deaths that took place during the last century. Okay, so this is a lot, but again, we see that some in the beginning, um, it does have a topic sentence that talks about what they're talking about. They're talking about aggression, but really, it seems like that's more like introducing the idea. And here it's talking about what the true meaning of aggression is in psychology. So that's the main idea. The main idea is in psychology, aggression has a more precise meaning. That's the main idea. And then these are all the support and details of it. Okay, good. So you will get more practice on how to find the main idea. You basically just have to ask yourself, what is the central message of this writing? Now, I do want to talk about support, and you will do this activity and submit it, this practice. So remember, support just means um, that there are details that show, explain, or prove your main point. What is the purpose of the author's writing? Is the author trying to convince you of something? Is the author trying to inform you of something? Is the author trying to compare and contrast two different things? So the support will depend on the author's purpose. Remember chapter one? Um, but they are the details that show, explain, or prove the main point. So there's a really nice question here that I like that you could ask to find the support, which is, how is the author trying to get me to remember, believe, and or agree with the main point here? Okay, so you will complete this practice two only. Okay, I have it here on of course, on your module. You download it and complete it and turn it in. Okay. So the instructions are the following excerpt is taken from a book about science by Bill Bryson. I want you to underline the main idea. Okay. So just highlight it and underline it, and then highlight any of the sentences that support the main idea. Okay. So let me show you how I would do that with the example of, let's do the last example here. It's number 4. Okay. So remember that the main idea is that aggression has a specific meaning in psychology, right? And here is an example, support 1. I would highlight this one because it's explaining it further. I would highlight the assertive, persistent person is not aggressive, nor is a dentist. Okay, because that is actually support in telling what it is not. Then I would highlight the person who passes along a vicious rumor about you, person who verbally assaults you, and the attacker who mugs you are aggressive, because these are examples. This person is informing of us and giving us examples of the definition. And then this one is just another definition, so I would highlight that, the whole sentence, because it is supporting it and clarifying. So I would highlight this sentence here, and I would highlight this sentence here, murders and assaults that occurred are aggression. I would highlight that, and I would highlight 110 million war deaths are also aggression. Because those are all supports and examples. So that's your assignment for this chapter. I'm not going to have you do anything else in this chapter except for the chapter review, but I do want you to read the rest of the chapter. Now, the reason why I don't have you do the chapter is because I have something else. I have another trick up my sleeve, and it's called a tips chart. Because a lot of students had a lot of different methods of reading critically, and this tips chart is actually from DVC's Heidi Salter Goen. And she wrote the tips chart, and then I added the critical reading questions. So I wanted to give her credit. I'm not plagiarizing, you see? Okay, so you always want to give credit where credit is due. So thank you very much, Professor Heidi. DVC too. All right, so what is this thing? This thing is called a tips chart. It stands for topic, idea, point, summary, and then plus. And the plus is the most important thing because the plus is where you have your critical reading questions. So whenever you read an essay in this class or a story in this class, you fill one of these out. The topic is, and I'm actually I have more lengthy video with an example of this. I'll present that one before your first reading assignment. But right now I'm just giving you an introduction to it. Okay, so you write your topic. This could be one word. What is this story or essay about? Now let's stick back to the last paragraph that I did the example. This is about aggression. That's it. Okay, remember we just talked about aggression? Aggression idea. The idea is aggression in psychology, aggression has a specific meaning. That's it. That's the idea. Then the points, this is the support. Point one, if we look back to it, we just went over it. Oh, that's to be the book there. Um, point one, I would write not salesperson, not persistent salesperson, not dentist. Okay, so I'd actually quote that. Okay, that'd be my point one. That'd be my support one. My support two would be here. My support three would be here. And actually, there's even a support four, so you can add a support four too. Okay. Um, Also, though, you want to add, then also explain how they show the idea. So if I said, um, not, I would quote this. I wouldn't just say it. So, dentist, I would quote this. So, not a dentist. But then I would explain it. Okay, so I would actually write the real quote. But to explain it, this shows what is not aggression in when in psychology. Okay, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I would write. That's all you have to do. One sentence about it, explaining how it's showing the idea. And in fact, the first one where it says it's not the dentist, it's not the salesperson, because it's giving you an example of what it is not. Okay, so then you quote three things from the book, a very quick summary. This is only a paragraph, so it'd be a sentence. The author is distinguishing the specific definition of aggression in the field of psychology. Done. Then this is the most important part. It's called the plus section. And these are critical reading questions. There's some in your book that are similar, but these are better, in my humble opinion, because they help you delve into analysis. They help you analyze. They help you elaborate. They help you think critically about the text. So if you don't understand any of these words, you just need to look them up in a dictionary, but you will get very familiar because you use this every time you read something in my class, an essay or something like that. You have to answer all of the questions. Sometimes the questions are just yes or no. Sometimes they don't apply, things like that. Okay, so if we took a look at an example of that, or a paragraph on aggression again, what is the author's approach or perspective? Well, this person looks like he's somebody who knows psychology, and he's giving a clear definition of what aggression is. His approach is, uh, it seems very factual, it seems very straightforward. Is there another theoretical or psychological approach? So this would be kind of like a yes or a question you're not going to write about. Not really, because, well, yes, there is. There could be someone who uses more anecdotal evidence, someone who uses more flowery language, but it's not that important because, except to realize that this person is being more straightforward and more textbook like. What's left out of the text? So that's hard to say too. It's only a paragraph. A lot of other examples of what aggression is. Also, the typical example of what aggression is. What does it mean when somebody says, "Oh, don't be so aggressive"? We're not talking about the psychology. We're talking about the general definition. So that's left out. Okay, this is interesting. So we'd have to research the author. Is this author from an insider, an outsider? Is this author a psychologist? Is this author an academic? You have to look that up. Okay, do you agree with it? Is the author are the points made by the author supported by the evidence? In this case, it's general evidence. It's not scientific proof. It's not quotations. It's just more of a general example. Is it anecdotal? It's actually not anecdotal because it's not telling a story, but it's not specific research and data, is it? It's more of a general concept. But so that just because it's a general concept though doesn't mean it's not valid. Okay. And then you just keep going. Does the writer present opinion as fact? In this case, I don't think so. Does the writer use valid reasoning? I think so. So you think about all these different questions, um, so you are critically reading the text. And you can see how even a paragraph you can answer all these questions for. Are there any assumptions the writer has made clear to the reader? I don't think so, except that they assume that you agree with them. They assume that um, you would agree with some of their examples, murders, war, etc. Do you think the author oversimplifies complex ideas? No. Are there any unsupported generalizations? Does the author make reasonable inferences? I think so. I mean, I think active war and killing people is uh, fits the definition of the psychologist's definition of aggression. Does the writer represent ideas of others accurately? In this case, no, right? So that question doesn't have to be answered. Does it distort ideas? No. Does it use unfair persuasion tactics, such as appeals to prejudice or fear? No. And does the writer present a balanced picture of the issue? Not particularly, but that's also something you need to ask yourself, like, can this small subject or be balanced? Yes, but much in a much larger, not just a paragraph. And then tone, okay? Tone is important. You'll learn about that later. Language. What about your reactions? Do you have biases in your own thinking, which is really hard? And then does the text challenge your values, beliefs, and assumptions? And that's important because that's how you critically think. You don't just take it and accept it. You need to bring in these critical questions so you can become a successful critical thinker, which is all the point what if college is, right? We're not trying to force feed you stuff and make you spit it back out or regurgitate it back out. We're trying to make you be able to think critically with what you read, what you hear, what you see. Okay, so that's why we skip all of this because I just liked how it was more streamlined um, with the tips chart. Now, you can skip understanding your syllabus. I mean, there's no assignments of it. That's what the syllabus quiz is for. Um, you can read the rest of the chapter, and just because you have to answer these questions in the end, okay? They are helpful. It is useful. But I think with this class, I used another way, but you do need to answer the chapter review, so you do need to read the whole chapter to answer these questions at the end. Again, the chapter review is in your module. And that's pretty much it for reading actively, chapter 2. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, just let me know. Thank you very much. Everything's in the module.